Hi everyone, this is going to be a review for the Illusori deck. I hope I said that right. I have no idea if I said it right or wrong. This is what it looks like. This is the back of the cards. It just looks so unique and beautiful. I have never seen a back to a tarot card deck that looks like this. It's so colourful. It just sort of draws you in. So this deck was actually sent by me, by the maker of this deck, and they sell it on Etsy. Now, I realised actually that Etsy has so many different decks that I've never seen before because a lot of them are indie. So these are people that have made their own decks and they sell them by themselves. They don't necessarily have like a publisher or anyone, to really back them up. Some of them do, don't get me wrong, some of them really do, but there's some people that just sort of make their own decks, and I think it's so unique and so different. Now, as far as I'm aware, this deck is available on Amazon. It's also available on Etsy. I'll leave the links down below if you are interested on it, and just for transparency reasons, I of course have to be 100% honest with you. This was sent to me, however, it's not going to sway my opinion. I'm going to be very honest with reviewing this particular deck as well. And I also do have a coupon code. So if you want to buy this particular deck, you can use the 10% off coupon, which is Moonlight in capital letters. I will leave all the information in the description box below for you in case you are interested in purchasing it. But the coupon code, I believe, is for Etsy. So if you make a purchase over Etsy, then you can use that code and get 10% off of this deck. So I don't make a commission or anything off the coupon being used, just again for transparency reasons, but I was sent this deck. So I'm going to review it and I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel, what I see, what I think, all that good stuff. So it came in this carton. As I mentioned, it's called the Illusori deck. It came in this carton. It's very unique. There's a lot happening on it for sure. It says here tarot. So that's what it's like all the way around. This is the illustration, very simple. There's nothing else in there, it just comes with the card deck. So first of all, it's very colourful, right? That's the first thing that I really sort of pointed out, is that it's super colourful. If you like colour, this is a very strong deck for you. It's probably one of the most colourful decks that I've found that even exists in general in my collection. So I thought I'd mention that first of all. Second of all, let's talk about the actual card quality. The card quality is pretty standard. It's not super thin and it's not like super thick, so it's a standard card quality. It's got rounded edges. It also has a border on it as well. I know there's lots of people that don't like borders. Personally, I don't really mind whether it has borders or not, so that is totally fine. It has this illustration in the middle, as you can see right there. It looks really cool because it kind of looks three-dimensional as well. And then this is what the cards actually look like. So the one other thing that I really did want to mention was the price. So I just need to pull that up, and let's see if I can actually get that onto here. Basically, the other thing that I also want to mention whilst I pull up the price is that when I had received this deck, I did have to pay a customs fee on it. I feel like that's just really important for me to mention. So I did pay a £14.47 custom fee, which is quite a lot. I'm not going to lie. So yes. Which was covered. So, it was one of those things where, in all honesty, it happens, but also at the same time, it really does depend. Sometimes if a company puts a really high value on the deck itself or the items that they are selling, then you could end up paying a heck of a lot in a customs fee. So it's just something to be aware of. This deck is not cheap, and that is something that I really want to mention to you. It costs £59.21 on Etsy, which is, I'm not going to lie to you, that's really expensive. It is very expensive. Personally, if I would have seen this on Etsy, I don't think I would have purchased it. I was of course very kindly sent it, and then on top of that there was a £14.47 customs fee. I'm not sure how much the postage actually costs. Let me check, because I think that's very important. So it's actually free. Postage is free, so it could be that postage is actually calculated into the cost purchase of the actual deck, so it's just something to consider, but obviously it is still very, very pricey. But if you like this kind of stuff, then it could be the deck for you, right? If you like these kinds of illustrations. So now that we've talked about the price, we've talked about the cardstock quality, it's sort of like, I wouldn't say this is like super glossy, it's more of like this matte, it's not 100% matte, but it's like a matte, semi-matte, should I say, semi-gloss, I don't honestly know, but it's not super glossy and it's not super matte, so it's basically in between. So you don't get a leaflet with it, which is the other thing. If you are a beginner, I don't believe that this is the right deck to really start off with. However, if you're someone that loves to collect interesting, unique, colourful tarot decks, or you're just looking for something that's so unique that you've never seen before, this is a great option. So what we have here, and now I know that I said that it's not super, what's the word, great for beginners. It does have extra words, like on the top it's got an extra word that really sums up the card. So in many ways, whether you need a leaflet or a booklet to support each of these cards, that is a very personal thing. Personally, I don't see that this is the best deck for beginners, but at the same time, it could be helpful in, learning roughly what the card means, but of course it's got a lot of symbolism in it as well, which can, for beginners, be a bit more sort of confusing and overwhelming. So for the beginners decks, I always recommend something super simple like Rider-Waite or the Smith-Waite deck. I just feel like it's the best way to try and learn tarot. But then if you have already learnt tarot, this can be a great option as well. It's very unique, it's very different. As you see right here, you've got some extra words at the top. For example, you've got celebration with the 3 of Cups. You've got here with the 4 of Cups. You've got here turning in. The illustrations are extremely in-depth and very, very detailed, which I absolutely think is stunning. I think that they are beautiful. They are very, they're very special. I mean, look at that with the 7 of Cups, right? I feel like every time I just want to look at this card and just try and analyze everything that's going on, because there's so many symbols and there's a lot happening. So if you like simpler decks, again, that's your personal preference, then this deck is very, very in-depth. If you love to see a lot of symbolism and you like to sort of decode things and analyze things, then this is a really strong card deck for you. So we've got here gift, Ace of Cups, healing, King of Cups, understanding, Page of Cups. So I'll go through the pros and cons. First of all, let's start with some of maybe the cons, right? It is an expensive deck, but then again, if you really like it, then it's a good deck to have. I will say that there are some other indie decks that I have received that for the price they have a little bit more on them. Printing a deck yourself is a difficult thing to do. It is very costly, it's very expensive, so I can understand where the cost of that goes, and then obviously it's free postage as well, so you're technically, everything's sort of included in, which is why it can also seem really expensive. But then also you've got a customs, I did have to pay a customs fee. It's not to say that everyone would pay a customs fee, but I did. Sometimes it's very select. The card quality, it's okay. I mean, it's a very simple deck. You have got simple packaging, there's no booklet, so those are things to factor in. Some people may see that as cons, some people may just think that, it's actually quite simple, I don't need that because we've got, words on the cards. In terms of the pros, I think there's quite a few. The first one I would say is that it's unique. It's completely different. I've never seen a deck like this. You've got words on top of the cards, which can also be really, really helpful, and it can sort of trigger other words, right? So when you see, for example, let's say you've got here, the world cards actually, some of the major arcanas, they don't actually have words on them, which I think is really interesting. So again, there's sort of this energy of perhaps there's a bit of inconsistency with it, especially, with the devil, you haven't got an extra word at the bottom, so you have with some of the other ones. So it can just feel a little bit inconsistent, but at the same time, with some of them, some of these words can trigger sort of other energies and messages that you get through. So I think that that's also quite interesting, and it can be seen as a pro. Again, super colourful, very, very vibrant. It's a unique deck, and I don't necessarily see that there's anything hugely wrong with it. It's a really lovely deck. So we've got here also the devil, And we've got some of these other cards. So, like I mentioned, some of the cards have the words, and then there's a select few that don't. But, you know, it is what we have right there. Wow, this is really beautiful. Look at that, the moon, past lives. It's a very unique and colourful deck. Now, remember, this is just my personal opinion. You know, I want to be as honest as I possibly can be. I buy a lot of decks with my own money, and sometimes I'm very, very fortunate to be able to be sent decks as well. And a lot of the decks that I do get sent, they're sort of ones that perhaps, you know, from first glance I wouldn't purchase really. But it's really interesting to see how, you know, when you have that deck in your hand, how it really connects with you. And this is definitely one that I'm going to be using in my pick a card readings, because I think that it is super, super interesting. You've got a lot of facets to it. There's a lot of work that has gone into the illustration. And oftentimes when you pay for a really expensive deck, you know, illustration takes a lot of time. And that is something that I think is also very, very significant and very important. So, you know, that is what I see right here, is that, you know, oftentimes the labour also has to, you know, be factored in as well. So that's what we've got. Ooh, that's a really nice card. So again, you know, for example, the Ace of Pentacles doesn't have a word written at the top or on the bottom, and some of them do and some of them don't. So I'm not really sure why that is. I'm definitely going to try and do a bit more research as to why that exists in that way. I think it's a unique deck. I think that it's worth checking out if you are super interested in a deck like that. You know, when I saw this, I automatically thought of the Tower, even though that's not the Tower card. But I just wanted to be, you know, super, super honest with you in regards to this particular deck. And again, if you wanted to purchase it, you know, I know it's expensive, but you can always use the coupon code that I have been provided with, which is Moonlight, to get 10% off. Only if you wanted to. I don't, as I mentioned before as well, I don't make a commission on this particular, you know, and on any sale to do with this particular deck, but it could just help you out, you know, if you wanted to purchase it, could just save you some coins, because it is quite a pricey deck, as I keep mentioning over and over again. So I actually wonder what the most expensive deck I own in my collection actually is. And do you know what? I have a feeling it's this one. I think that this is actually the most expensive deck that I actually have. I'm going to have to do a video one day and actually go through the most expensive decks that I own, because I feel like this will easily be in that. So yeah, this is the deck. It is unique, it is different. It's very vibrant, it has a lot of symbolism, a lot of colour, it's very in-depth, it is very, very detailed, and this is my review. So yeah, it's definitely one that I'm going to be using in my pick a card readings, probably not in my sort of daily readings or perhaps even with client readings, but definitely it's a unique addition, and I think that it's definitely something that, you know, if you're interested in this kind of illustration or these kinds of cards, we also have additional words at the top or, you know, in line with it, you want something, you know, simple that doesn't really have, you know, booklets and things like that, then, you know, maybe this is the deck for you. It very much so could be, but as I mentioned, it is pricey, but nonetheless, coupon code is available if you want to use it. So this is my review and sort of a first impression, and yeah, so let me know what you think about it, and definitely do take care as well.